welcome, sir.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Welcome to our college. Welcome back, actually. So I am Tumloy, second economics, and
I am Aidaman Palang. I'm Professor Economics.
today we have a special guest, Mr. Imti. Imanuel, sir. Maybe, sir, if you can give us your introduction.
What do you want to know? That's what interview is about. My name is Imanuel Imti. I am from Nagaland, but I've been here in Delhi for about 30 years, and various other cities around the country. And right now I'm working as a pastor full-time. Before that I was with several other industries, I would say, education and NGO and such. And married with 2 kids. And yeah, happy to be here.
All right, thank you so much, sir. So we will be asking you some questions regarding your college experiences and
Sure.
how college was for you. So let's begin. So the first question we have is, what were your thoughts when you first entered the gates of St. Stephen's College?
Wow, okay. What were my thoughts?
I think it's very vivid for everybody.
No, I don't, it's too long. It's like, I'm from 2000, I graduated in 2003, so which means I joined college in 2000. 2000, well,
23 years back.
yeah, I remember the interviews, when I came for the interviews, that one I remember. I came for history and BA program and philosophy interviews, and the whole paperwork, of course. And I think, okay, so, wow, philosophy had only 9 students. So I remember I came to this classroom number, went looking for it, and it was a tiny room, one of those tiny rooms. So it was a very small class is what I remember. Just 8, 9 of us, and I was quite surprised because I didn't realize it was so small. That's what I remember.
All right.
Okay, we have a second question for you. What was or were your biggest inspiration growing up? Like, who are your role models today? Are they the same people or?
Today,
Yeah.
when I grew up as a child, of course, I had several people that I looked up to. Let me say one of them was my father and my grandfather. So because my grandfather gave us our first bicycle and our book. I remember it's called the Book of Knowledge. It was an encyclopedia. He was a very learned man, and I remember whenever he used to speak one language, he would say, "Shh, I can't hear," because he would force us to speak English. So that way, in that sense, he taught us how to speak and to pray. I remember him getting on his knees, and praying all the time. He and my grandma, and they were very interesting people. We can do a history on him, but he was an MP at one time also. So he was a very learned man, very smart, very intelligent. Traveled all the world. I used to see photographs of him, in Arunachal, in the snow line, mapping the Nepal borders, things like that. And then of course my dad was there, so he was in the service. He used to wear his uniform, very smart, very hardworking, traveled a lot. So that way I was very inspired by them. And my dad used to, for example, travel a lot, and whenever he went for his postings or his duties or his tour, he used to, as much as possible, take us around with him. So that way we got to see many of his postings and his places. So that way I wanted to be like him, like them, in being a positive force and exploring the world and eating any kind of food and seeing any kind of people, that way, yes. And so yes, they were my first meaningful inspirations, I think. And as of now, of course, I as a man in the mission, I follow a lot of theologians, a lot of missionaries. If you want to go back, George Mueller, if you've heard of the missionary called George Mueller. So he really inspired my life because of his life of prayer and his life of faith. If you remember his story, he was a German guy, but he went to England and he took care of thousands of orphans. And there's a lot of miracles on how God provided, like food or clothes or buildings and houses and complexes just like that. So I still remember people like him, and maybe even like you know, yeah. So there's some of my inspiration, men of the cloth or men of missionaries, as well as people in my life, yeah, whom I directly saw. So, yeah.
I think it's very inspiring, like for all of us, like our family, really like our biggest inspiration. So I think that's a really great role model to have. So moving on, the third question would be, how was your experience transitioning from living in Nagaland to studying in Delhi? How was it like? How did you feel?
So my story is different. When I was 3, I left Nagaland. Yeah. So like I said, my dad was in service. So for a while we were in Shillong. That's where I attended Kiddies Corner. Then I went to Jorhat. That was in Don Bosco, Jorhat over there. So it's all Assamese, you know, all these nuns and all that stuff over there. It's a slightly different experience. Then I went to Patna, Bihar. So suddenly I was the only Northeasterner over there. Me and my siblings, of course. And the shock was, yes, because I remember when I was in school, Don Bosco, sorry, I was learning plus minus, example. When I went to Bihar, they were doing multiplication tables of 8s and 10s and all that. So it was a cultural, academic shock for me. And in Johor, Assam, Shillong, we were a class of 20, 30. Over there were like 80, 90 kids. You know, so I just got lost over there. And academically, I think I didn't recover for many years after that. It was good in a way because I was doing Sanskrit by the time I was class 4. You know, Hindi and this. But it was just tough. Then of course, 90. Then I went to Shillong again, Assam Rifle Public School, where I got really beaten nicely. But it was good. It was very tough. I learned how to be, you know, a tough boy. You know, scouts and marching and, you know, 5 o'clock jogging and all that stuff. So it was again a contrast going back to Northeast. Suddenly again surrounded by hundreds of Northeastern boys, Mizos, Manipuris, you know, all that stuff. Again came back to Delhi. And then my culture shock again, educationally, because all these boys, we went to sports, you know, into all this stuff. So we used to get 5 out of 10, and we were so happy. And then I came to Delhi, and then I saw these kids getting 9.5 out of 10. And they were crying because they missed that half mark. It was a major culture shock for me. So yes, education was much higher and much more focused here. So it definitely pushed me a lot. And I'm glad I had the experiences I did to open my life, you know, that way. Yeah.
I think it was a very positive impact, like for you to.
In a sense, yeah. But as parents and as, you know, one day you'll be parents, and just remember that many times children suffer a lot without even, one thing is they can't express their suffering. Number 2 is they don't even know what they're suffering. So it's up to you parents when you grow up, and teachers and educations one day to be that intercessor to try to solve the children's issue, because I had a lot of traumatic experiences, but I remember I couldn't talk. I didn't know how to talk. And I see that in many, because as a counselor now, for the past almost 20 years I've been a counselor, and I see that still happening today. Generations of people have been, children and young people have been dealing with. Many times they can't even express what they're going through because they can't even comprehend what they're going through. You know?
They get frustrated as a
Yeah,
result.
the frustration, the confusion, the chaos. You know, so that way it is a great learning experience going through that whole experience. Yeah. So great. Thank you for that question. Wonderful.
Okay, so our next question for you is, were your classmates aware about Northeastern culture when you were in different parts of India? Were they aware of it? In Stephen's particular, like, were they keen on learning about our culture?
Yeah. If you talk about Stevens, in my classmates, I had an Assamese boy, and then one boy who was Goan, but his stepmother is a Manipuri. Yeah, and so that way, and we were very close knit with our other batches. So it wasn't too much of an issue, I think, at least in college here, because there were a lot of Northeasterners, and class differences were there more than racial differences. English, Hindi groups, you know. For example, the BA pass programs, a lot of Hindi speaking. But of course, they also had a mixture. But in spite of that, I don't think there was much racism, if you want to call it, or classism also wasn't much there. People were in their own world, thankfully, at least in this college. But when I go to my childhood, even till now, because I was working in a school for about 12 years before this, for some time, And over there, in this new generation, they initially when I started working over there, they were like, hey, Chinky, Chinese, Nepali, whatever. But part of my work, I would say, my company's work was to educate people, the children especially, that Northeasterners exist as a community, and we are not just cooks and stuff. We're teachers. So over the many years, thankfully, we were able to instill in them an understanding that Northeasterners are educated, are can be mentors and teachers and coaches. So yes, so that is still required, because in the 80s until now, there is still I still see gaps. So culture as a whole has to, and thankfully is developing. So thank God for that. Yeah, it's developing.
Yes, sir. I totally agree that St. Stephen's College has been such a safe space for us Northeasterns, because we haven't been facing, even till now, till this date, it has been a safe space for us to grow mentally as well, because everyone here is accepting, and there's no racial discrimination or cultural discrimination here. So I think that is what is really good about this college, another add-on point. All right. So moving on to the next question. What initiatives were taken to promote Northeastern culture in college during your time?
There was a North-east Society then. So I remember we had freshers meetings, and there was a Naga society, such fellowship of things. So we did interact, and I remember we had dinners and lunches and parties they used to organize. And some of us were active in other societies. I was talking to some of you last time. You guys are here. So for example, I was in the arts society. I was in the executive, and also in the music society. So how do we promote is coming out of our pools, so to speak. Because I asked some of your batchmates or friends, and all of them said that they're not in any other society. So I don't like that. It's not proper. So we are ambassadors wherever we go. So just coming back all the way from Northeast to come here to India, to Delhi or whatever, and then you go clump around in small communities. We have not done justice. We're not doing justice to our education or to a community or to the future, nothing. So as part of that, I definitely, me and some of my peers, we were very active in these societies and being an ambassador to our culture, to our people. Our people meaning the rest of Indians. So in my batch, I remember when I was in second or third year, there were a lot of these foreign students from Brown University and all these places. So we brought them into the band, for example. We got them involved also. So we reached out to everybody. People were in their own isolated groups, but we reached out as part of the music and art societies. So the Northeastern Society members, generally speaking, I would say that you should be in at least 3 societies if you're in college. One at least definitely be in the executive or something. Other 2 to some extent participate. And as far as I'm aware, I have not seen anybody in the Shakespeare Society from the Northeast. Do you know any? I don't know. I don't know any famous one, let me say. Because why I'm saying this is because it's one of the most famous, influential societies.
Yes.
And why not play an active role in that? So I encourage you, and that's one way that we Northeasterners can influence and contribute to the larger society by being part of many other societies other than just Northeastern or these narrow traditional
Yes,
spaces. Yeah.
I think being an ambassador, showing, participating and making other people know about our culture through our talent is something very important for all of us to learn actually, and coming out from a comfort zone, which is our own state, and coming to a new place. I think it's very necessary for us to fit in and share what we know about our culture. So I think that's a very good point, sir. So next question.
Next question for you is, what would you like to share a little bit about your ministry with us?
My ministry right now?
Yes.
Okay, so right now I'm a full-blown pastor. So that means, so my specific responsibilities are the music and the worship ministry. So taking care of all the logistics, the shopping, the maintenance, management, and also making sure that all the events and programs and services have got the team ready. Taking care of the team as well. So example, not only pastoral care for the team, but auditioning and all that stuff. Also, I'm specifically in charge for the youth ministry, which is high schoolers all the way to college and university. So includes not only regular programs and services and Bible studies, but counseling, mentoring, marriage preparation, issues resolution, stuff like that. Plus also I take care of families. So be it families, home visits, counseling, marriage, children, old people, young people. So it's kind of pastoral care, counseling and teaching. So that's what I do right now. Before this, I was in several university ministries. So which means I was roaming around the North Campus, going into hostels and colleges, and just sharing the gospel and being available for people. And in between, I was running a hostel ministry for some of your siblings were there. It was I believe that it's not only academic. You need to be mentored and taught life skills. And one of the things Northeasterners struggle with is proper cultural training. And and being from school background, when you come straight to the city, especially to the city and then college life, and many times you don't get hostels, so you have to fend for yourself. So for the decades I've been here, I've seen young people being abused. Landlords suddenly just throw them out, or they get in the wrong relationships, or all these things happen. So one of the things I thought was maybe why not put together some houses, establish them so that it's at least an easy landing, some sense, and teach them practical life skills like just paying the electricity bill, or how to talk to people, how to dress. You can't have young men roaming around in chaddis, talking to grandmothers. It's not done. Example. So all that stuff, including. So I used to conduct seminars and workshops, bring professionals, civil servants, doctors, just to give a talk to all these young people. And so that was also one of the ministries I was doing. And many kinds. So.
Yeah, that's right. It's really helpful, especially for someone who just moved out from the Northeast and come to Delhi.
Yes.
It's like the stark differences between the cultures and everything. I feel like that is really important. The
Yes.
help that all that we can get,
Yes.
the
Exactly.
guidance, that's really important.
So yes.
So a follow-up question: was St. Stephen's College did it have any impact on what you're doing now? Like, did it have any influence?
Yeah, definitely. One is I did philosophy, so it helped me think, to refine my thinking process, the method of argumentation and all that stuff. Also, it gave me a very healthy understanding of different philosophies and religions, and just respecting people. For example, I don't need to, let me say, I respect you. Maybe I don't respect your argument, but it teaches me to respect you.
Yes.
And at least the humility to say that, okay, we want to discuss and argue and debate, and I have a strong position and stand, but I will come with the humility to say that maybe I'm wrong. So I'm coming here to learn something. So if you destroy my argument, then I should be humble enough to say that, okay, you're right, I will change my position. So in that sense of respecting humans, respecting the logic of discussion and debating and stuff like that, definitely helped me. Also part of societies and the band and all that helped me to organize events, to event management, people management, schedule management. So in that sense of efficiency also, and cross culture. So I was able to mix with a lot of people. So definitely that helped. And so these are what I say is, college is the first 3 years of BA is when you basically learn life skills. Because academics you will forget. And later on, I've noticed also many of my friends, after they pass their BA, they go on do something else in MA. So BA itself is basically to make friends, learn how to make friends, how to deal with problems and issues, how to discipline yourself. So in that sense, yes, it does and did have a lasting impact on me. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so our next question for you is, what your profession holds a lot of stereotypes, right? So
My profession.
yes.
Okay. Yes.
So how would you disapprove them?
What are the stereotypes? What do you think they are?
Like maybe pastors have to be a certain way. Pastors don't do this, pastors don't do that, I guess. You have to live a certain type of lifestyle. You have to be strict with yourself. Like you don't, like they're supposed to act a certain way.
Yeah.
I think it's a very general question. Maybe we can pick up one stereotype and we could.
No, I understand what you're saying because there was one time in my life when I hated pastors. To be honest, I didn't want to be a pastor, and it's a shock how I became a pastor. Because the point is, you realize, or rather, the Lord teaches you what it means to be a pastor. And the reason I didn't want to be a pastor for many years was because, to be honest, there were many people who were pastors. I mean, the larger sense, and who weren't called to be pastors, but and also they were in their own struggles, because being a pastor is very tough. Being a missionary, being a clergyman, so to speak, or whatever you call it, it's not easy. And there are a lot of temptations, a lot of difficulties, a lot of assumed, problems. And we're all men, meaning we all fall, we all have issues, So we tend to judge them harder and more harsh. And in a sense, we should also, because we are supposed to lead people by example, and we're talking about morality and ethics and all these things. So so that's one thing said. Yeah. But to be honest, I am having fun. Personally, in my walk with the Lord, I reached the point where I'm experiencing a lot of freedom because I have a lot of peace, because I know where I stand in the Lord. And being a pastor means, of course, having a wonderful life, focusing on family, focusing on people, focusing on the Lord, and dependent on Him for everything. I don't depend on my wit, on my education, on my packing. I don't have to say, तुझे मालूम है मेरा बाप कौन है, all that stuff. I don't need to use that language also, because ultimately it's a work of faith. It's faith work. So even if I pray for someone, it's like, it's the Lord's reputation, if you understand. So so for me personally, I do see people tightening up sometimes, and calling me different kinds of names with love and respect. But then they get surprised when they found out what I do, because I am not what many people assume to be. I hope that makes some sense.
Yes, it does.
Because of course they're all spectrums of missionaries and pastors, and so you find that. So I'm somewhere at the side, I think.
The right side.
Yeah.
Like he said, you never thought of being a pastor, right? So I guess it's just the Lord that has taken you to where you're supposed to be. Would you say so?
Yeah, of course. It is a calling. So, okay, basically what it means to be a pastor is to care for people. When you see people being tormented or abused or lost or confused, or example, my mom is a widow. So my dad died many years ago of cancer and all this, and I saw that she was, women like her were a lot, and children like me, the fatherless, the motherless, or whatever, they needed a lot of care and nurturing and protection and guidance, and there were not many people doing that, or able to do that, or understand how to do that. So it's definitely a calling to serve people, because it's not about position or power, authority or prestige. It's not about that. It's just crying for crying where those who cry and laughing where those who laugh. So once you get that place, then the Lord calls you and you cannot reject that voice.
It's like you're given the opportunity to have an insight and knowledge in it and be able to connect with them more.
Yeah. Like I said, I was a student here. I was myself lost and confused and angry and upset, and I didn't have guidance or this and that, whatnot. And when I look back in hindsight, I realized that many people are going through the same thing. Many young people are lost and confused and this and that, having also issues. And there are not many people who are available to minister to them. Even if they want to, they can't, because they don't have the experience. So I realized, in one way, God has guided my life through all the terrible experiences and ups and downs, so that I can minister to those who are in similar circumstances. And I think that's what it means to be a pastor. Sure.
That's
Yeah,
really
makes sense.
Yes, sir. So moving on to the next question. Sorry. What was the general preconception of people from other states about the Northeast during your time, and how different is it now
In college?
in college?
Oh. Girls went to fashion. That's one preconception, that our Northeastern girls are, they're westernized. Of course, I understand the cultural, all that context behind it. But of course, the average North Indian, maybe those who come to the city, because not all of them are city people, they come here for studies. So there's that understanding that we are too focused on that, which may not necessarily be true. It's just that that's our culture. For the boys, it's like music and sports. It's a cultural thing.
Football.
Yeah, it's a lot of into music and sports, which is also fine. It's fair. That's what it is, and no, a little bit too much of party and stuff like that, which is also fine. I guess that's what it means. Every culture parties. So the stereotypes were there. Other thing maybe not necessarily Delhi people, but non-Delhi people like the rural and all that. We are very free with each other, which is good. Boys and girls, we mix and mingle because we grew up in church, for example. Plus our tribes and communities are very free with each other. We say Didi Bhaiya, let me say, right? Utti Uya, whatever. So in one sense also we have that let me say pure connection. Whereas many people of other faiths don't have that. So they misunderstand that. They can misunderstand that. So, but then in the other side, even our people, many times we misuse that. So, it's valid from both perspectives. Does that make sense?
It does.
It does. It does. I think it's even there's the stereotypes are
there.
still present.
Yeah.
I feel. Right.
We'll move to the next
Yes.
question then. How strong was the unity among Northeasterners during your time in college?
It was pretty good, pretty good. I don't remember any conflicts as such. Mizos, Manipuris, Arunachalis, Sikkimis, Assamese, all fine. They used to party, hang around, do society stuff together. It was good, it was good. I don't see anything, I don't remember anything negative. It's
Yeah.
still carrying on today. Many of them are still in relationship today, so that's great.
So, very close knit.
Yeah, yeah.
I think everyone was close knit.
And it's carried on over a lifetime, which is very important. This is that's what college is about, no?
Yes.
It's about building meaningful relationships, practical relationships that carry you through life. So do that.
Good advice, sir. Okay, next question. So, did the need for a Northeast society ever cross your mind during your time, and were there barriers that prevented the formation of the society earlier?
It was there from before.
A formal Northeast society recognized by the college.
I think it was there from before. There was the Northeast community was there. We were active in several ways. I think somewhere in the middle it died out. Yeah, somewhere in the middle might have died out after I left. But generally it was a close-knit community, and we did what needed to be done. But I think also we didn't feel the need to exert ourselves. Do you understand? I hope you understand what I mean.
Yes, sir.
We didn't need to say, look at me, I'm Northeastern. That we are a subdued society, and thus we need to come out and look, the pride walk or something like that. We didn't feel the need for that because we felt that we are integral part of the community, just as Jats, Gujars, and Mallus and whatever are just part of the whole fabric of society. We're also part of it. So we don't want to be out of place. But in the sense, why did we exist? We existed to help each other, support each other, educate each other to some extent. So from that angle, we were there. Freshers meet, and all that stuff was there. And more importantly, again, it's about relationships that went on after college, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that is our friend Dim Kim. He was the first Mizo president a couple of years after I left. First Northeasterner. Do you remember? You know him? Silo. He was the first. He was Brigadier Silo's grandson.
Dr. Silo? Is it Dr. Silo?
He's not a doctor now. He's a doctor now. Yeah. Oh yeah, he's a doctor now. I think. Yeah.
Okay.
He's the grandson of Brigadier Silo, who was once CM of Mizoram. A prestigious family. So he was the first, from what I remember, he was the first president of the society of college from the Northeast. I forget which batch he was. A couple of years after mine. So that's how you show yourself. Now, be active in regular life. Be part of every society. There's mountaineering society. I don't know how many people are part of that. Are you guys?
It's the hiking.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
part-
hiking and all that stuff, right? So be part of everything, and that's how you make a difference. Huh?
Yes.
You want to add salt in all the dishes, not just have a lump of salt.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I guess there had never been like since your time the need to feel like what you said a pride walk. Like even today they've always been an integral part of the community, like we don't feel that. So I think that's really healthy and it's a privilege for us to be able to be as one, like equal part.
Yes, that's wonderful about this college. Yeah.
So the next question for you is what is a striking memory that you still have about the college today that is still very vividly you can remember it?
I mean, I have lots. I don't know, the festivals, the chapel services, the meal times, the farewell dinners, the plays, Shakespeare. We used to get lifts in the morning. The scholars used to stand outside near Red Fort or India Gate, and random people pick us up, coming to college. You special, some of us. I used to cycle to college at one time. It took me 45 minutes. So a few of us used to cycle to college. There's 2 of us in my batch, I remember. Maybe there were others, but Rajesh, he was my senior, sorry. That was when I was in first year. Rajesh and myself. So those are some memories. Yeah, that's it.
Your life has been so full of experiences, so I think you enjoyed like college life to the fullest, I feel. Hearing your stories, so interesting, sir. All right, moving on. Any advice like to the students currently in college, like in terms of academics or personal life? Like any one advice you would like to give to the current batch of Stephanians?
Life is a collection of habits. Yeah, so develop good habits. And it's not very complicated to develop good habits. Yeah, and you need good mentors. Life is about mentors. So actively pursue mentors and humble yourself and subject yourself to a few good mentors. Not one, not one, okay? At least have a bunch of them. And and stay humble and stay eager, and and don't stretch yourself out too thin. Like don't join 15 societies. Just 2 or 3 is fine, but at least join 2 or 3. And don't be a racist.
Surely, sir.
We are very Northeasterners can be very racist. We think they're racist, but we're actually looking at them from our own eyes. That's why we think they're racist. So even if they don't mean anything bad, it's just out of their own, ignorance or simplicity or dumbness, whatever. Sometimes people behave like that, but we think it's racist. So be humble and just expect the best from the other person, and you will give your best. Yeah.
All right, so we'll be moving on to a new segment of our interview. It's called the rapid fire round. So we'll be asking you a set of questions which you need to answer very quickly. Maybe like it's a 1-word answer or 1 sentence answer. So Alamon here will be reading out the questions. So answer.
Let's practice.
You can have a minute to warm up.
Are you ready?
That's right. Yeah.
All right. The first question: a rule that you broke in college.
A rule I broke. Oh, I bunk sometimes.
You bunk classes.
Sometimes.
All right. Second, your favorite teacher.
Dr. Shankran.
Okay. Third, your favorite hangout spot.
Well, we had a band room at one time, but of course the cafeteria and Rotas. Mr. Rotas, if you heard of him, the
The
famous
canteen, the dhaba.
The dhaba, yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Is food.
Alright. Do you prefer the science dhaba or the cafe?
Cafe.
Okay.
It's indoors, no?
Which society you love the most?
Music and art, of course. Music and art. I was part of that. I see the value in it. So, yeah.
Which society you work for the most?
Both of them, music and art.
Music and arts.
Two societies, yeah.
Okay. Which batchmate made an impact on you the most?
Batchmate, same batch?
Same batch.
Myself.
That's a very safe answer.
No, I had a wonderful set of very small, tight-knit community. You know, so it's like I said, I think there was 7, 8 of us by the end of it, and we're still in touch, all of us,
Okay.
and we all have different career paths, even after philosophy. All of them went very different, so they're all doing well in their own way, and I still love them, and I appreciate them very much, and I wish them all the best. And so each one of us, we have our own, weirdness, and we contributed to each other, so that's great.
Your favorite dish on the menu?
Samosa.
Your best and the worst day?
Best and the worst day in
In
college? That's a tough one. I have to really think. Best? Well, the best maybe when I found out I passed my revaluation.
Yes, sir.
So that I could rejoin philosophy after losing almost a year, doing two years of BA pass program classes. That was good. That was a relief, praise the Lord, I would say. And the worst was, of course, when I found out that I flunked that. I got back papers. I guess that really messed me up.
Okay, so they're both academics, related to academics.
Oh, it affected everything. Yeah, academics affects everything when
Yes.
in college. Yeah.
So those are the 5 questions.
Oh,
I
okay.
will move back to the normal questions.
That's a wrap. Alright, so we're only left with a single question now, and this will be the closing question for today's interview session. So, with the Alumni Outreach Program being a new initiative of the St. Stephen's North-east Society, can you give any suggestions or ideas on how we could go about our approach towards alumni like you?
Okay. So not for me, but generally when I think about community, how human psychology, all that stuff, it's like what is in it for me? Nah? So that's a very pertinent question to ask, because many people have gone, they've like 20, 30, 40 years they've gone from college, and they're in their own world right now. So, unless there's something, because they're busy, everybody is busy, they have plans, projects, whatever. So the question is, what does it do if I'm reconnected back? Because I'm already part of college society or whatever. So think about, the value that adds to them. Yes, you want a value to the students right now. That's great, that's important. So see what value it adds to them, or to convince them that adding value back is good for them. So you need to do that talk, the presentation. For example, one side note maybe could be, maybe it helps your kids get the admission.
That's a very far stretch, sir.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
Yes, sir.
I'm just saying maybe. Or maybe when your kids get admission here, your contributions, would be maybe financial contributions or guidance or whatever will contribute to their education in the future. I'm just saying, maybe that's some ways of baiting, it's important, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So think about those things. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful insight in your life, your experiences, and showering us with so much of knowledge and advice. And I think that wraps our interview today. Thank you so much for coming, sir. And
My
we
pleasure.
have a special token for you. If we can just pass it on. So
Oh.
this is our merchandise. It's a tote bag,
Oh.
which we are presenting to you.
Thank you very much.
If you like it, sir.
Did you guys make it? Design?
Yes, sir.
Artwork?
It's designed by
Yes.
the society.
Oh, very nice. That's the North-east Society. And a badge.
And a batch.
Okay. And a bottle. Of water.
So thank you so much, sir,
Oh, my
and
pleasure.
we really appreciate you that you came all the way here.
Oh, my pleasure. Always here for you.
And this is us signing off. Thank you so much for watching.